Hello viewer, welcome back once again. Our today's topic is computer networks. This is a common topic for computer science as well as information practices for class 12 according to the latest syllabus for 20 to 21. This is our today's class agenda. We will be covering networking along with its introduction, need, evolution, requirements, switching techniques and its types. At last we discuss different types of networks along with some terminologies and difference between them. Starting from the basics, what is a network? According to definition we say, when two or more computers are joined together so that they are capable of exchanging information, they form a network. In other words, an interconnected collection of autonomous computers and associated devices that are connected by communication facilities is called a network. We can realize this definition by linking this to internet, which is most common nowadays. That's okay, but why we need networking? Basically there are 5 reasons to have networking. They are resource sharing. We can share our resources like data, softwares, hardwares and memory with others using a network. Fast communication, that is information can be exchanged at a very fast speed. Reliability, that is a file can have its copies on 2 or more computers of the network. Cost effective, that is sharing resources reduces the cost. Access to remote database, that is it is easy for an average person to access any remote database. To understand this, here are two persons, Kermit and Fozzie. Kermit wants to send an image to Fozzie. So Kermit and Fozzie needs a path between them, which we call a network. There are several switches in this network. The way as follows depends upon switching technique used. Like a coin, network has its bad side too. That is disadvantages of network. Well, they are threat to data and difficulty to set up. Threat to data means our resources which we are sharing can be used or stealed by unauthorized users. This can be resolved by securing a network to allow only registered users. While difficulty to set up can be resolved by using a specialist. Now let's move to flashback to see how networks came into picture. There are 4 stages of evolution of networks. In 1969, Advanced Research Projects Agency Network, also known as ARPANET, was started by Defense Department of US to connect different universities and US defense. It expanded rapidly, people started sharing information and played games. Then after in mid-80s National Science Foundation created a high-capacity network called NSFNet, which allows only academic use and private business. Many of private companies started developing their own networks, which were later interconnected along with ARPANET and NSFNet to form Internet, which is Network of Interconnected Networks. In third stage ARPANET was shut down in 1990. And in fourth, that is 1995, government funding discontinued for NSF. But commercial services came into the scenario, which are still running the Internet. We need 4 basic things to form a network. First is at least 2 computers, one for client and one for server. Second, this that we need is a communication medium between them which can be wired or wireless. Third thing that we need is network OS that manages the complete task. The last but not the least is network interface card used to connect and identify the node and server. Clients are the users connected to a network in order to receive services, while server facilitates that services to client. Client-server model is shown on your screen. As discussed in previous slide, clients refers to users' computer connected to network. It is also called node or workstation. And server facilitates sharing of resources. As written, a network can have more than one server also. And each server has unique name by which nodes identifies it. This identification is done by NIC. We will discuss server types and NIC in next slides. As stated earlier, that network OS, also called network manager, authorizes the data transfer and control the data flow. There are 2 types of servers. One is called dedicated and other one is non-dedicated. As the name clears its definitions. A dedicated server is reserved computer for this work. These type server are generally used on big networks, also called master-slave networks. These type of servers are faster and require less memory. While on the other hand, non-dedicated servers are not reserved. A workstation can double up as server on small networks, also called peer-to-peer networks. Here double up means workstation do both the tasks simultaneously. These type of networks are generally slower and require more memory. Now to understand multiple servers in network. Imagine a scenario where one needs to print something on a network printer. Then in this case 3 servers are used simultaneously. Modem server used to establish connection between them. File server is used for smooth file transfer process. And at last print servers are used to give you the efficient printing by deciding where to and how to print. Last basic requirement is NIU or NIC. That is Network Interface Unit or card. Sometimes we call it LAN card or Terminal Access Point (TAP2). This device is attached to each workstation and server and helps to make connections between them. Each unit has unique number or address to give you the correct connections. This address is called the MAC address. which is Media Access Control Address. This wraps up basic need for a network. We will cover communication medium introduction later on in this video, and in detail in the next video along with its types. But now question arises that how data is transmitted across networks. The answer to this question is switching techniques. There are three types of switching techniques. They are circuit switching, message switching and packet switching. Let's discuss them individually. Circuit switching technique is analogous, or we can say similar to traditional telephone network, as continuous path needed. Properties of circuit switching are shown. Physical connection needed. Comparing it with a telephone network. When a computer places a call, switching equipment within telephone system seeks out a physical copper path from sender to receiver. Therefore we say that end-to-end connection setup needed before any communication. Second is message switching, in which store and forward technique used. In this, not a dedicated link used, which increases its efficiency. The source computer sends the data to the switching office first, which stores the data in its buffer. Then it looks for a free link to another switching office and forward accordingly. Process is continued till the data reached destination computer. Last but not the least is packet switching. In this, path is not fixed and the data is stored in main memory at switching office. There exists a tight upper limit on the block size in this switching. Fixed size of packet is specified due to its storage in main memory, rather than disks as in message switching. Increases the performance as access time is reduced. Now let's wrap this topic by knowing differences between these three techniques of switching. As discussed, only circuit switching requires a dedicated and fixed path. Other two decides path runtime, due to which circuit switching is costlier and not secure. There is no storage in path of circuit switching, which makes it fast, but in message switching data is first stored on disks in switching office then travel further. In packet switching data is stored in main memory, that's why access time reduces and makes the data travel faster. No limitation on data size in circuit switching. In message switching data is bounded from one side, while in case of packet switching data is bounded from both lower and upper limit. This wraps up switching techniques. Now we move to types of networks. There are four types of networks, namely personal area network abbreviated as PAN, local area network abbreviated as LAN, metropolitan area network abbreviated as MAN, and wide area network abbreviated as WAN. As name suggests, the personal area network is of personal use. That means you are the only user of this network. It may extend it to LAN in some cases. A simple computer is also a network. Keyboard sends data to CPU, and CPU sends the data to monitor to display. This happens by using wired connection, that is USB and Firewire, while wireless, that is Bluetooth, and sometimes infrared connection, as you have seen in remote and TV network. Now we learn the facts about personal area network. It is organized around an individual person. As discussed, this can be wires or wireless. It covers less than 10 meters, and can be viewed as special type of LAN that supports one person instead of a group. Secondly, local area network comes. This is locally distributed network, confined to a relatively small area. It is generally limited to geographic area such as lab, school, or building. Rarely are LAN computers more than a mile apart, means up to a few kilometers. In this network, a server stores all resources that needs to be shared. This connection can also be wired or wireless. Wired using LAN cables and NIC, while wireless LAN are also called WLAN or Wi-Fi. We will learn more about this in next video. Third is metropolitan area network. Interconnection of several local area networks are called metropolitan area network, or we can say it is a bigger version of LAN. In fact, we say it is a network of computing devices within a city, shows a central computer connected to others. Usually characterized by very high-speed connections using optical fibers or digital media. It can cover an area of a few hundred kilometers in radius. We can realize this by ATM network of banks in a city. They are connected using mains. Fourth one is wide area network. Wide means it covers larger geographic area such as countries or world. Largest WAN is internet. Dedicated transoceanic cabling and satellite uplinks may be used to connect this type of network. Examples include international banks network, national government offices and international organizations. This picture summarizes all we have studied about types of computer networks. Personal is a subset of local, and local is a subset of metropolitan, and metropolitan is a subset of wide area network. Before we move on to differences between network types, let us consider some terminologies used in data communication. First is channel. Types of channel or medium between are shown on your screen. We will discuss them in next video. Just introduced here to understand the difference between types of networks. A communication medium used in the transmission of message from one point to another is called channel or pathway. This channel can be wired or wireless, depending on their speed. Three types are narrow, voice and broadband. Narrow band, which is slow and used for telegraph lines. Voice band used for ordinary telephone communication, and broadband which is fastest and is used for transmitting large volumes of data at high speeds. Second is bandwidth. To understand this, we imagine a scenario of two pipes from which water is flowing. One pipe is thick and another is thin. The thick one allow more water to travel, whereas thin pipe allow less water, and thus the thick pipe water flow speed is more. Technically speaking, bandwidth refers to the range of frequencies available for transmission of data. It is expressed as difference between highest frequency and the lowest frequency in unit Hz Hertz. Wider the bandwidth of communication system, greater is the capacity and hence greater is the amount of data that can be transmitted over a period of time. Data transfer rate is the rate or speed at which data is transmitted. As discussed in the pipe example, greater the bandwidth, greater will be the data transfer rate. Technically, DTR is the amount of data in digital form transferred from source to destination in a given time on a network. Data transfer rate is often measured in bits per second, BPS. For example, Jio provides maximum data transfer rate of 4 megabits per second. The differences that we not covered yet are bandwidth, cost, ownership and speed. Let's discuss them. LAN bandwidth is high. For MAN it is moderate. For WAN it is low. LAN setup cost is cheaper. For MAN it is moderate. For WAN it is high. In case of ownership, LAN are owned by private companies or individuals. In MAN, ownership can be private or public. WAN are established under distributed ownerships. At last we wraps up this video by differentiating them on basis of their speed. As discussed, bandwidth is directly proportional to data transfer rate. LAN speed is up to 1000 megabytes per second. MAN speed is up to 100 megabytes per second. While WAN speed is limited to 10 to 20 megabytes per second. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe our channel.